This NFL Week 14 Monday Night Football doubleheader edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Sunday, November the 10th, currently halftime between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Here to get into the Monday Night Football doubleheader between the Packers visiting the New York Giants and also the Tennessee Titans head to South Beach to take on the Miami Dolphins. And joining me, as usual, to help me break it all down, I got my guy here with me, Lonte Smith. Lonte, we got 2 games this week to break down instead of the one, my man.
I wish they were a little bit better, but yeah, I guess 2's not always better than 1 in this case. But yeah, man, looking forward to it.
In some cases.
Yeah, some cases. Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully, it won't be too quick. I mean, especially one of these games. I don't think it's.
Yep.
I don't think it requires a lot of breaking down as far as X's and O's. But yeah, man, it's more than one ways to make some money. You don't have to bet side or total. We got plenty of different ways to do it. So hopefully, we can extract some value and make it a non-interesting game or two a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I know we got your New York Giants in action here. They're hosting the Green Bay Packers. So let's just dive right into it, man. We'll save the Giants for last. We'll get into the
last
Titans
is where they belong.
Maybe might be an interesting game here. I think definitely a little bit more competitive, but we'll talk about that in the latter part of the episode. But for whatever reason, the schedule makers decided to start both of these games at the same time. So if you're one of those people that has multiple screens, you can definitely utilize that when both these games kick off. I believe it's 7:15 Eastern, or is it 8:15 Eastern, the usual time that it does kick off on Monday Night Football.
It's usually 8:15.
Yeah, so I think it's at 8:15 for both of these games. But nonetheless, the first game we'll get into here, we'll go to the Tennessee Titans. Like I mentioned, they are headed down to South Beach to take on the Miami Dolphins. Currently, as it stands, the Dolphins are almost a 2-touchdown favorite in this game, minus 13.5. Total for this game sitting at 46. Let me get over to the injury report for both of these teams here. I'll start here with the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, it will be Will Levis at the quarterback position for the Tennessee Titans. And just looking at their injury report here, give me 1 second as it loads up here. All right, so Christian Fulton, cornerback, has been ruled out. He's dealing with a hamstring issue. And Tier Tart is also on the injury report here for the Tennessee Titans. He's just officially listed as questionable. No injury designation for him yet. For the Miami Dolphins, let's see. Tron Armstead, offensive tackle, is listed questionable. He was a limited participant in Saturday's practice with an ankle injury. Javon Holland, safety, is dealing with a knee issue as well. He's also listed as questionable. And that is pretty much it here. Titans come into this game, I believe, Lonte, the only winless team on the road this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
here.
they are.
They're just 1-5 against the spread in those road games. Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins have been one of the best teams at home against the spread. 8-4 ATS. The only team that has been better at home this season is the Philadelphia Eagles, 7-3-2 against the spread here. But we'll start with the side here. Lonte, minus 13.5 in favor of the Dolphins. I mean, Dolphins, it goes two ways with this team. It's number one, that they beat up on some of the less, I said the more poorest teams of the National Football League, and then they lose to the better teams in the National Football League. But now, going back to the Titans, like I mentioned, the only winless team on the road this season. Let's start with the stride here, minus 13.5 in favor of the Dolphins. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have no clue or side coming in, just doing weekly prep. I had the Titans circled with a star beside him, but after listening to like Vrabel and some of his pressers, he don't sound too confident. He's usually pretty good as a dog, usually ugly up the game, but I don't trust their O-line. They've had 8 different combinations This is the third of their offensive line. Now, this is the third straight game with this same exact unit, but they've been struggling. Rookie quarterback on the road in warm weather. I mean, it's just a lot that's kind of up in the air for me. The special teams coordinator got fired after the
Mhm.
Titans had the two punts, essentially, or the two punts basically won them the game lost them the game last week versus Indy. Um, so I wanted to going in, I wanted to take Tennessee, but man, like you said, the winless on the road, the rookie QB on the road. Although Levis hasn't looked bad, he hasn't looked good either. It's kind of right in between.
Mhm.
Um, just the offensive line struggles is what's giving me is what's taking me off of it. I mean, they gave up 6 sacks last week to Indy, and Miami is third in sacks per game. So the pass rush should be able to get home against this offensive line unit. Both of their tackles are rookies, so that's not really a good combination against the defense like Miami, who's trending up since Jalen Ramsey's got back. And
Yep.
I think that buying low on Miami at the time before they got those guys back was a good. So if you got the futures on them, I think that's a good bet. But Miami's 9-3 for the first time in 22 years. They're tied for the best record in AFC. They've outscored their opponents 384 to 266. Even if you want to go back, the 70-point outing was kind of an outlier. So if you want to omit that 70-point outing versus Denver, they're outscoring sub 500 teams 228 to 112. They had New England twice. These are the subpar teams that I'm kind of putting those numbers. New England twice, Washington, the Jets, the Giants, Carolina, and Vegas, all as subpar teams. So they're outscoring those opponents 228 to 112. That's omitting the Denver game. So, like you mentioned at the top, they do beat up on bad teams. I think they can pretty much name their number. If you want to I would rather go with like a team total to go over. They've yet to lose at home. They're averaging 38.8 points at home. Um, I think they roll here, but I got a lot of respect for Vrabel, especially covering big numbers. I'm pretty sure he's going to have something dialed up, even though his presser he was saying that they can't replicate the speed. They don't have the guys to replicate that speed. Kind of not what you want to hear against Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and
Yeah.
Raheem Mostert. So and A-Chain to respectively. So yeah, man, I'll lean to Tennessee. But I'd much rather have the Miami team total to go over. But I think Miami can pretty much name their number. I'm just hoping for a turnover or two. Tennessee gets a short field, and they can capitalize on that. But outside of that, it's just a lean to Tennessee. I just think that I trust Vrabel in this spot, even though he was kind of downplaying some of the stuff in his pressers.
Yeah, I think this game is correlated, right? I think that if you think the Titans cover, that it'll go under the total, and if you think Dolphins cover this number, it'll go over the total. Because, like you mentioned, that the Dolphins are averaging 38.8 points per game at home,
Mhm.
4-1 against spread, 5-0 straight up. That number is a little bit inflated at 38.8 just because they put up a 70 burger against the Denver Broncos back in week 3. But even after that, they put up 31 against the Giants. They put up 42 against the Panthers, 31 against the Patriots. Um, Raiders actually went in there and only held them to 20 points, which I think was pretty impressive on the Raiders' part. I know defensively, we talked about this on the pregame show for the Raiders that they've bought in on the defensive side. Unfortunately for them today, they allowed only 3 points and still ended up losing that game. But I think Antonio Pierce, at minimum, should deserve that defensive coordinator spot for the Raiders. But I think that's a different conversation for a different time. But yeah, for the Dolphins here, I guess my question would be is that like you mentioned, that do the Titans have enough horses to keep up with the scoring ability of the Miami Dolphins, right? I just don't think they have it. And like you also mentioned that Mike Vrabel has also mentioned that in the press conferences as well. So I think for the Titans that if they want to have success in the game, they're probably gonna have to have those long sustained drives and do their best to keep the Dolphins offense off the field because we know they're a very quick strike offense, especially at home, with the speed that they have with Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle. So I feel like the Dolphins are going to be the public side here, just because looking at their home record and how dominant their offense has been, and how dominant they are against some of the lesser teams in the National Football League. That the public will be all over them. So I'll in here with the Dolphins here. I'm not going to have any money on that for sure. But you mentioned I think the team total may be the way to look here for the Dolphins if you want to back them here. Since you do like the Titans here or leaning towards the Titans, do you think this is an under game or do you like the over at 46?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be under. I'm thinking that maybe if Miami does get out to a big enough lead, they'll kind of, park the bus, as the football fans like to say. I
Yeah.
think they'll maybe try to run a little bit more and not try to risk any injury or anything like that. But yeah, I think I think we can see what I mean, if I'm trying to get in between these numbers, I would say maybe a 28 to maybe 10,
Mhm.
30, 35 to 7, 35 to 10, even, somewhere around there, is what I'm hoping for. But well, not what I'm hoping for. That's what it's kind of getting as far as the total. But I would much rather see a 28-17 type of game, if they
Yeah.
can keep it close. If they can control the clock, keep the offense off the field, and Derrick Henry can get going, um, they got a shot to cover the number. I mean, Vrabel. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but historically, just coming off the top of my head, he's been real successful as a dog, and this by far is probably one of his weaker Tennessee teams. So
Yeah.
you got to take that into consideration as well. But I think they can keep it close. I mean, the Dolphins had a little scare with with the Jets, and that was with Tim Boyle at quarterback. I mean, that granted that was on the road, but I think Tennessee is a better team than the Jets. That doesn't mean they're going to go in and compete, but I do think coaching style is going to play a big part in this and game scheme, and I think Vrabel is going to have something schemed up for the Dolphins on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I think that number one, I think this season is skewing the numbers a little bit, getting back to regression for Mike Vrabel as a dog. Going back to let's go back to the 2018 season. The Titans as a underdog are 29-23-1. That's around 55.8% for the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, I'll lean with the over here just because, like I mentioned, I think that if the Dolphins can get their amount of points and maybe there's like a backdoor touchdown or field goal to push this over the number here of 46, I think that's definitely a possibility here for the over here. Lonte, before we do get over to the player props that we like in this game, let me tell everyone about Hall of Fame bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL and NBA season with Hall of Fame bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with Circle stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, Lonte, let's get into some player props here for this game. What are you looking at?
I'm gonna try to look at Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears because I think they're gonna lean a lot on the ground. So let me find a updated number. I just want to make sure that it's updated because my notes are like from midweek, and I know some of that stuff moves. Or do you have the numbers in front of you?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
Just Derrick Henry, rushing attempts, rushing yards, and then Tajay Spears rush receiving.
All right, so let's see here. Rushing yards for Derrick Henry is at 55.5.
I like
Tajay
that
Spears
over.
rushing yards is at 19.5. Rush attempts for Derrick Henry 13.5 minus 130. And then rushing and receiving for Tajay Spears is at 36.5.
Yeah, so I'll start off with Derrick Henry. As I mentioned, I think they'll be relying a lot on the run. The Dolphins' front is pretty good, but I do think that you want to take the pressure off of those two rookie tackles and have them run block versus dropping back to pass block for a fellow rookie quarterback. So I think Derrick Henry should see around 17, 18 carries, and you said 55 yards was the 55 and a half was his number.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking 18 for 70 is somewhat in the ballpark. Yeah, he's good for breaking a big run, and we all know
Yeah.
he is going to get stronger as the game. So if it's close, it's going to be Derrick Henry time. So I think 18 for about 70 is what I have him pegged at. As far as Tajay Spears, I think he's just a switch. He's just a Swiss Army knife. Change the pace back. He comes in and catches a lot of screen passes. They actually been working him and Derrick Henry on the field at the same time, which is kind of throwing defenses off, especially on third downs. Let's put him in a slot throw him a little tunnel screen or whatever. So I do think 36.5 was like 18 yards each. I think he can break a few tackles and get into the secondary with a big run or maybe a big pass. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I actually think that he's been getting a lot more work as the season has been progressing. So yeah, I like both of those running backs to do the thing. So give me Henry over rush attempts and rushing yards, and I'll take Tajay Spears over rushing and receiving yards.
I think that this game, if the Titans do get behind by, let's just say, 2 possessions, right?
Yep.
I think it's something similar that we've talked about throughout the season, is that they're gonna have to throw the football. Will Levis, right? Um,
Yep.
his pass attempts are at 31.5 right now at even money. Even with that, I feel like it's a little bit high, but I wouldn't play the under, is what I'm trying to say, just because they're going up against offense in the Miami Dolphins that can put up points in a hurry, right? And last week,
Yep.
yeah, he did have 33 pass attempts, in which turned into a shootout against the Colts. 28 against the Carolina Panthers, 17 against the Jags, but then he had 39 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 39 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think this is a possibility for him to get over this number of 31.5. That was one I was looking at. DeAndre Hopkins is always a wild card for me, just because I don't know what I'm going to
Yeah.
expect
I
week in
never
and week
know. I
out
never
for
know.
DeAndre Hopkins. I think the only time I've bet him this season, I think, was one time where he did like cash for me, but the number right now from, I believe, was at 55.5. Let me double check here for
Yeah, I think
DeAndre
it's been like that
Hopkins.
for like the past
Yeah, like
3 or 4 weeks,
several
55
weeks,
and a
right?
half. Yeah.
So he has gone over this number in 2 out of the last 3 weeks, and then 3 out of the last 4 weeks. Or sorry, 3 out of the last 5 weeks. He fell short a little bit against the Carolina Panthers, where he did have 49. But I think that if they're going to have to throw the football, you can rely on the hands of DeAndre Hopkins. The receptions haven't really been there for him. He's only had a 5-catch game once over the last 5 games. Other than that, it's been 3 receptions, 4 receptions, 3 receptions, 4 receptions. But nothing really excited me as far as player props. I think the only one that I was considering was Will Levis over on his pass attempts. Just going off a game script here. What else you got? Anything else for this in the player props here?
Nah, I stayed away from I try to stay away from the Dolphin side because it's got the blowout potential on it, and then like I just don't know where it's coming from. I mean, obviously, won't talk you off of any Tyreek Hill, anything. Um,
Yeah.
I do think Jalen Waddle will probably have a bigger impact on this specific game, just because I think Vrabel is familiar with playing, against Tyreek Hill in some of the battles with the Chiefs back in the.
Mhm.
But again, he had better. It was better iterations of that defense than what they have right now. So I think some familiarity will come to play here, and they'll try to limit some of what Cheetah does. But all in all, I just don't. I don't know who to trust on the Dolphin side, blowout potential, and such. So I'm staying away from the Dolphin side at all.
Yeah, I think about Tyreek Hill is that he gets into 100 plus receiving yards against all the bad teams that the Dolphins have played this season, right?
Yep.
Commanders last week,
Yep.
157, against the Jets, 102, against the Raiders, 146, against the Patriots, 112, 163 against the Panthers, 181 against the Giants, 157 against the Denver Broncos, 215 against the Chargers in week 1. But when you take a look against teams that are above 500, against the Chiefs, 62, 88 against the Eagles, 58 against the Buffalo Bills, 40 against the Patriots. I know that's their divisional matchups, but I think this might be the opportunity where, again, Tyreek Hill's just that guy that can get this done in 3 catches. We
Yep.
saw that last week,
Maybe
right?
one
He was putting
catch.
up like, yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, he put up like Randy Moss type of numbers in the first half last week against the Washington Commanders. So, um, I'll look at Tyreek Hill. I wish they had like first half, like player props and things like that. I think that
They
would be
they
fun to
have they
do.
don't they
But
have those some places offshore.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do. If
I
you
might
check,
have to dabble
they
into
got
that.
some places offshore. I don't well, I used to have a few, but they kind of got shut down on me. But Yeah, and then they have on not underdog on Prize Picks.
Price
They
picks.
they have
Yeah.
they have the first half stats. Yeah, the first half
Yeah,
stuff.
you're
Well,
right.
obviously you can't. It's not a single bit, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Anything else for this game, Lonte?
that's all I got.
All right. Before we get over to the next game of this schedule here, speaking of Prize Picks, we're also brought to you by Prize Picks. Look, it's that time of year where we have college football and college basketball going on, NBA as well, and obviously with NFL here. Um, it's so easy to play over on Prize Picks, and they are one of the best daily fantasy sports, you know, companies out there. Prize Picks also now has a new feature on their app is where you can now play combo um projections from players from two different leagues. So for example, you want to get down on LeBron and Travis Kelce combo of 10.5 of 3 pointers made by LeBron and also receptions for Travis Kelce. Well, you can do that now on the specials league category. It's a specific league that's been created for combo projections, like I just mentioned. And if you also want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players, like rapper Meek Mill, comedian Andrew Schultz, you can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community every single week. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For example, for football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits in the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform for with an injury insurance policy. So how do you take advantage? Well, simple. Just go to prizepicks.com slash SGPN and make sure you use that promo code SGPN for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com slash SGPN. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this season with Hall of Fame Bets, sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, Lonte, let's get into the second game of the Monday night doubleheader. That is going to be between the Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants. Currently, this line is sitting at -6 in favor of the Green Bay Packers as they visit the Meadowlands with a total of 37 in this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, let me start here with the Green Bay Packers. So for the Packers, I know Aaron Jones missed the game last week, but he is officially listed as questionable for this game against the Giants. Christian Watson is going to be out for this game as well. He's dealing with a hamstring issue. Quay Walker, linebacker, is doubtful. He has a shoulder issue. Darnell Savage, safety, is also listed questionable. He has a chest injury. And then Eric Stokes, cornerback, was coming back from the IR. He was a full participant on Saturday's practice, but is officially listed as questionable. And Jair Alexander, cornerback, is also been downgraded to out. He's dealing with a shoulder issue. So injuries on both sides of the football here for the Packers. Just to recap it, on the offensive side, Aaron Jones questionable, Christian Watson out. And then for the defensive side, Jair Alexander, Darnell Savage, and Quay Walker. Two of the three guys are out. So Walker is doubtful, Jair Alexander out, and Darnell Savage is listed as questionable. For the New York Giants, let's see here. Evan Neal, offensive tackle, is dealing with an ankle injury. He is out. Dexter Lawrence is dealing with a hamstring issue. He is officially listed as questionable. Paris Campbell has a knee injury. He was added to the injury report, is officially listed as questionable. And that is pretty much it. So, some significant injuries, I guess we can say, for both teams here. It is going to be Mr. Tommy DeVito here at the quarterback position, who, despite what happened or what transpired and the way he played in his first couple starts, he's been what's the word I'm looking for? Adequate, I think is a word.
That's a good word.
He's put up back-to-back wins for the Giants, right? They beat the Commanders 31-19. That was a game where he had 3 touchdown passes for the Giants. He did take 9 sacks in that game. And then the Patriots last week, he was 17-25, 191 yards, 1 touchdown. Also took 6 sacks in that game, but they did get the 10-7 victory. On the other side, Jordan Love is starting to look like the guy that they hoped. I guess, Packers fans to take the place of Aaron Rodgers. I know he got off to a great start at the beginning of the season for the Packers, leveled off a little bit, but he's been really good over the last 5 games. In fact, he's had at least 2 passing touchdowns in 4 straight games. He's had 3 passing touchdowns in back-to-back games against the Chiefs and the Lions. So offensively, the Packers looking good here as well. -6 in favor of the Green Bay Packers here. Lonte, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I like the matchup for the Giants. I really do. I think they can have success here offensively. Tommy DeVito, like you mentioned, adequate is a good word to describe him and what he's done. Hopefully, he can get a signing bonus or something and move out of his mom's apartment or his mom's place, his mom and dad's place. But yeah, I mean, I think most importantly, he just hasn't turned the ball over, and that's the most
Yeah.
important thing. Is not giving the defense or not giving the offense short fields. The defense for the Giants it's always been okay. They're living off takeaways right now. I think that's sure to regress. They've had 9 takeaways in the last 2 games, plus 5 in turnover differential, which is tied for 6th in the league. So that's obviously going to regress here, but I do think they have some advantages that they can exploit on the Green Bay side, specifically with Saquon Barkley in the pass game as well as the run game. The Green Bay 30th in rushing yards allowed. You mentioned some of those guys that are going to be out in that secondary. Now, I'm not saying Tommy DeVito can go out there and beat you, but they're probably going to play a lot more zone coverage, which should benefit the receivers that we have with Hyatt emerging as well. So I'm looking forward to what kind of Dayball schemes and Kafka scheme up to be able to get Saquon more involved, because I do think that he is the type of back that can give Green Bay some trouble. Like I mentioned, they're 30th in rushing yards allowed. And while the Giants' offensive line is horrible, I do think that they can kind of get out on the edge and move the pocket for Tommy DeVito, get Saquon Barkley involved in some screen passes as a receiver, and then get the run game going. So a nice blend, I think, will have an advantage here. You mentioned the stuff about Green Bay. I mean, they're back in the playoff mix. They got a weak schedule upcoming. They play Tampa Bay at home, Carolina. They play Tampa Bay at home. They go to Carolina and Minnesota, and then they get Chicago at home. So they're right in the mix. Everything is right in front of them. Jordan Love has improved, completed 68.5% of his passes for 8 touchdowns without an interception over his last 3 games. Defense banged up, still hasn't allowed more than 24 points in any of the last 8 games. The offense struggled at first. I know we mentioned, LaFleur coming out and not even having a good script. They failed to score a single first half touchdown in 5 straight games earlier in the season, and they bounced back and scored touchdowns in the first two series in each of their last 2 games. So LaFleur has been successful in October and 16-0, but obviously a lot of that was with a different quarterback. So that's kind of historical trend that kind of gets thrown out the window. But I do think the matchup is good for the Giants. I think they'll be able to run the ball, control the clock. I don't think that Jordan Love will be able to kind of get whatever he wants. The secondary for the Giants is underrated. It's an underrated group, in my opinion. So I think it's a good matchup for the Giants. I think they can exploit some of the things that Green Bay wants to do. AJ Dillon is not the back that kind of hurts the Giants. The backs that hurt the Giants are those multifaceted backs, and you would think they would do a better job with them having a multifaceted back, but for whatever reason they can't do it. AJ Dillon, straight line runner. The Giants, they'll be able to stop that. I believe so. Yeah, I think the Giants are allowed to win this game, man. I don't want them to, but because I'm hoping we can get Drake May, but yeah. So I'm gonna take the 6 with the Giants, and I think they're allowed to win it outright.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, but you're stuck with Mr. Daniel Jones for a little bit longer here, Lonte. A couple of trends I did dig up here. So since the 2020 season for the Giants, if they won their previous game and they are a home underdog, 4-2 straight up, 4-1-1 against the spread, and a perfect 6-0 to the under in those spots. If we want to trim that down in the Brian Dable era, um, going back to last season, if they are in a home underdog role, and they won their previous game 3-1 straight up, 3-0-1 against the spread, 4-0 to the under, and then just as home underdogs, since Brian Dable took over, 4-4-1 straight up, 5-3-1 against the spread. But I think the one that does stands out, 7-1-1 towards the under in those games here. So I think that it's something similar that what I mentioned for the Dolphins and the Titans game, that I think that if we think that the Giants do cover this game, I think it'll be a lower scoring game. I wish
Yep.
this total was like in the 40 range.
Yeah,
Being in
right.
that range of like in the 37 kind of does make me nervous. But I think that I do like the Giants in spot here as well. I wish I had gotten the 6.5 here, but I could see this being like a 17-14 type of final for the Packers here. I feel like they are going to limit the Packers offense here. And I think, like you mentioned, that I feel like the Giants offense can have some success here because of the injuries. Number one, like we mentioned, for the Packers, right? Especially in the secondary where Darnell Savage is questionable. Jair Alexander is officially ruled out. Quay Walker has been doubtful for some time as well. So I think this is going to be an interesting game defensively for the Green Bay Packers. So I like the Giants in the spot here as well. I'll take the +6 here with the Giants. Total sitting at 37 here, Lonte. Any thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I lean under. I think the Giants are gonna want to kind of control the clock and keep that hot offense of Green Bay on the sidelines. Although I don't think they'll have any problems with defending the Green Bay offense. They have the guys on the back end to be able to do it. I do think that they might struggle getting pressure, so that might Wink is going to blitz. I mean, everybody knows what
Yeah.
Wink's mo is. He's going to blitz. So I'm interested to see how the Green Bay offensive line does with that. But although I think the Giants are live to win this game, I think we see somewhere like 17-10, 17-14, like you mentioned. Even a 20-10 type of game for the Giants can get us here. So yeah, I'm looking at the under any way you slice it. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants have some success here. I might look at a Giants team total to go over. So I'm
Yeah, let me see if
yeah,
I can
I'm
find
sounding a
that
little too
number.
confident in the Giants, but I mean, as long as DeVito doesn't turn the ball over, and I know Dayball is going to craft up something good for that offense, especially coming off of 2 victories where he's Tommy DeVito's getting comfortable. He kind of knows what he likes, what he doesn't like, and I mean the Packers defense has been playing really well, but I think this will be a different Giants offense coming in here. So yeah, I'm gonna lean to the under, but I might take a Giants team total over.
So Giants team total, see 13.5 at -135, and then 14 and a
Mm,
half at -115. So I mean, I think with the injuries that they do have, I think they can find 2 touchdowns here, man. Like you mentioned, like
yeah,
if
yeah,
DeVito doesn't turn the football over, especially in the red zone, I think that there's a good possibility that they can get 2 touchdowns. And like you mentioned, right? The with Jordan Love and the way that Wing Martindale is going to blitz here, I think they can get some pressure, and maybe again, like I mentioned, like they can create a turnover. I mean, I know this is wishful thinking here with the Giants, but I think they've done it before, right? And again, those 2 games where Tommy DeVito just didn't look like a professional starting quarterback, like they figured out ways to put DeVito in the right spots for him to have success on the offensive side of the football. And I think we'll get into player props here in a second here, but I think they're really going to really heavily rely on Saquon Barkley in this game, and I really love Saquon Barkley in this game. Just looking back at what the Packers have allowed since Week 10 to the running back position here. Trying to pull up the exact numbers here. So rushing yards allowed, the Green Bay Packers over the last, what was that, 3 weeks now, allowing the 5th most rushing yards to the the running back position, and then receiving yards allowed. I know they don't give up a lot, but it's Saquon Barkley, right? He's the guy that can take those screen passes, make one guy miss, and he's sprinting to the end zone. And so his rushing and receiving in this game here, Lonte, I believe I saw it at, I want to say it was 90 something here. I'm gonna pull up the exact number here.
Sheesh, I wanted it to be like low 80s, like 83.
I could be wrong. Let me double check here. Saquon is 93 and a half here, right? For this game here.
Yeah.
And I'll mention this. I know this, we look at historical stats, and this was back in 2019. And then last season, these two teams matched up as well. But two career games against the Packers, Saquon Barkley, 115 rushing and receiving. And then last season, back on October 9th, 70 rushing yards and 36 receiving yards as well. So I may just look at his receiving yards. Let me look that number up while you give your player props here, Lonte.
I mean, that's one of the only ones that I had was him. I do like Jalen Hyatt though. I like his over. I think you want to get his longest reception over as well. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but his longest reception. I mean, obviously he's a burner, so he can take a slant and just OBJ it. OBJ was famous for taking the Eli Manning slant passes 70 plus yards or 50 plus yards. So Jalen Hyatt has that same ability somewhat. So I like him over. He's coming off his best game. I think he had 5 catches, 109 yards. So DeVito and him kind of got that rapport going. I really don't trust any of our other receivers, to be honest with you. I mean, Hyatt hasn't even been as consistent, but he's one of the guys that I think is kind of turning the corner. He kind of knows, some of the spots that Tommy DeVito likes to throw the ball. Some of the routes that they run is kind of. I don't like the route trees of all these receivers, and I don't know if it's just because they're not as good or what. But that's another topic for another day. But yeah, I think Jalen Hyatt has a good game, so I'm going Jalen Hyatt, longest reception over, receiving yards over. If you can ladder his receiving yards up to like 60, 70 plus, get some plus money on that. I don't hate that either. And of course the Saquon Barkley. I love Saquon Barkley in this game. I probably have like 4 or 5 bets on him. Like I'll probably be on his receiving yards. No, I'll probably be on his receiving yards, his receptions, 2+ touchdowns. Like I think he has a really, really big day, or really big night tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Barkley's the only one I'm looking at.
You don't sound too confident in that.
No, I love Barkley tomorrow, but I think I really love his receiving yards more in this game. It's at 19 and a half, and I understand, like I mentioned, that I know the Packers haven't given it up a lot, but it's Saquon Barkley at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So I like his receiving yards to go over 19 and a half. Offensively for the Packers, anything that you're looking at there? I know Christian Watson, like I mentioned, is it a Romeo Dobbs game? Is it a Reed game? Is it AJ Dillon? Anybody that interests you on that side of the football?
I mean, not really. I kind of like the tight end that they had. He was a rookie. I forgot his. Is it Tucker Kraft?
Tucker Kraft, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I kind of like him. Giants don't do well with tight ends. They haven't since I've been born. Probably they haven't defended the tight end that well since probably since Lawrence Taylor. But yeah, I would probably look at the slot corners for the Giants are really like decent, and then Deontay Banks is kind of emerging. So maybe look at Jaden Reed because his twitchiness and him being in him switching sides and he can take a screen and go 40, 50 yards. So maybe Jaden Reed would be somebody I look at, and Tucker Kraft. Look at Tucker Kraft receptions and receiving yards. I mean, the Giants just historically they don't do well against tight ends. They don't.
Let's see here how they.
But my thing is, I think how I handicap the game is, I think that if the Packers are going to have success to be able to cover this number, I think they're going to have like a really good passing attack. So I don't want that to happen. I think that's their path to victory. If Jordan Love can come in and he's comfortable and he can get the ball out to those guys and he's having some success, and you get into short yardage situations and you have AJ Dillon, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, and they pick it up and sustain those drives, then I think the Giants are in trouble. So I'm kind of leaning on the pass game not being as effective, just simply because I think the Giants can I think they have a better shot in shutting down that pass game.
All right. Anything else for this game?
That's it.
All right, let's get into our lock. Or sorry, let's do our touchdown scores here,
Yeah.
Lonte, for both games. Who do you like?
I like Jalen Hyatt on the Giants
Okay.
side, and I like Jaden Reed on the Packers side.
Plus 165 for Jaden Reed. And Jalen Hyatt is at plus 425 in this game. 19-1 for me, the first touchdown score. Did you like anybody
What
in the
about
yeah, go ahead.
let's change Jaden Reed. What about Tucker Craft? What is he?
Plus 290 is what I see.
That's kind of short because they run a lot of 12 personnel, right? It's him and somebody else. That's
Um
the other tight end. I can't think of
Patrick
his name.
Patrick Taylor, is it?
That's him. That's him. Patrick Taylor. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the other. I know Luke Musgrave's on the IR, so I think he's
Yeah.
pretty much. Oh no, Patrick Taylor. Sorry, he's the running back for.
I like him though. I like him too.
Yeah. God, who's the other tight end? It's not
I'm trying to
Wicks
think
because
of.
he's a wide
I'm
receiver.
trying to think of his name. I do like Wicks as a sneaky receiving prospect. I didn't see any of his numbers listed.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. Yeah, I can't find it right now. Is it?
Let's talk. We can stay
No.
with Jaden Reed. That's fine. That's fine.
All right. Anybody from the first game? I didn't even mention the touchdown scores from them. Anybody from the Titans and the Dolphins game?
Spears kind of stands out to me as a touchdown scorer.
Plus 475 for
What about
Tajay Spears.
the tight end for Tennessee? I can't say his name.
Smite.
Nah, for the
Durham
Titans.
Smite.
I'm sorry.
Oh, the
Nah, for
Titans.
the
Okongwu.
yeah, Kongu. That's him. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Plus 450 for
like a Kongu.
him.
Like a Kongu.
D Hop, I think it's a good price at plus 295, man. I mean, it's still D Hop
Yeah.
at the end of the day. I know that the targets aren't there for him as much as they used to be when he was with the Cardinals and even the Texans, but it kind of makes me scratch my head why he even signed with the Titans in the first place. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I have
another
no idea
time.
why he
But,
did that.
but yeah, Hopkins plus 295. I mean, the Dolphins, you have Tyreek at minus 195, Achan at minus 115, Raheem Mostert at plus 105, Jalen Waddle plus 115. So nothing excites me there.
Who's like middling, like 3-1? Anybody like a tight end or something?
No, like it's
Nobody?
either like plus 115 or less, or it's like plus 400, north of plus 400.
Who is it? Who is the 400?
So Durham Smythe, their tight end, is plus 425. Tua plus 475.
That's not gonna happen.
Braxton Berrios 6-1. Cedric Willis plus 850. I mean, yeah, I think that's. I'm gonna stop right there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
going,
that,
I
that
don't think
that's
anybody's
yeah.
finding the end zone. For the Giants game, I guess Saquon's plus 115. I guess I'll take the chalk there. It is at a plus price.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Darius Slayton could be sneaky plus 475. I don't hate that.
If he catches a bomb, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean he has that escapability.
He does.
So yeah, I'll throw those two out there. All right, let's get into our lock and dog here, Lonte, and then we'll do our prize picks entry for the Monday Night Football game. So, you want to lead us off with a lock and dog?
Man, I'm gonna go double New York Giants here, man. Full homer mode. I'm going Giants plus 6 as the lock, and Giants. I think you can get like plus 260.
Money line?
Yeah, you can get like plus 260, plus 270.
Let me see where the best odds will be for their money line. Give me a second here. They go to a different screen. Let's see, money lines. NFL. Let's go all. All right, so Giants money line. Come on, man, I need all.
I think it should be around like 260, 270, if I'm not mistaken. I bet it earlier in the week, so
So I do see DraftKings has it at plus 230. I'm trying to see if I can find a
Oh,
better price here. I don't know why it won't let me go to that screen. All right. Yeah, all right, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty much plus 230 is the best price
it's
you
all
can get
good.
right now on the money line
Yeah,
for the
that's fine.
Giants. Yeah.
230 is fine. I think they can win the game outright. Like I said, DeVito takes care of the ball, get Saquon Barkley involved, limit the explosiveness, get the offense out the field when you can, keep them in third, and so you keep them in third and manageable, and not third and 1 inches or maybe two, with the big back like Dylan. So yeah, man, I'm going full New York Giants mode. Giants +6 is a lock. Giants +230 as a dog.
All right, there we go. All right, for my luck, I will go Giants +6 here as well. I like the spot here for them at home as a home underdog. They've done pretty well in that situation with Brian Dable as a head coach. Like I mentioned, 5-3-1 against the spread. Go back even further. They are very favorable in that spot as well. For my dog, I'm gonna pivot to a player prop alt line here. Let me see if I can find Saquon Barkley on his receiving yards here.
Oh, I like that.
Uh, 25 plus that plus 130, 40 plus that plus 350. So I'll give you both of those. Sprinkle a little bit on that 40 plus. So 25 plus 130 receiving yards for Saquon, and then 40 plus 340. If you want to get spicy with it, 50 plus is 6-1, and then 60 plus is at plus 950 for Saquon. So I think he'll be
What is he?
heavily involved.
What is he for 100 plus rushing? I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna be probably on all over like Saquon props.
Let's see here. Rushing for Saquon. 100 plus is plus 285.
Yeah, I like that too. Add that as another. That's another dog. We got two. We got
All
two
right, there we
dogs.
go. All right, let's put together our price picks entry here, Lonte.
Well, we know
Where do
what
you
one
want
of
to
the
start?
interests. We know what it's gonna be. Saquon over receiving yards. That's gonna be one that we both love.
Yeah, all right. So let's start with Saquon. That number is, let me see here. You said receiving, or you want to do both rushing and receiving?
I say we just do receiving just to limit some of the exposure that
All
we can
right.
get.
19.5 is the number on price picks. What else do you like?
Um, what else do we like? We're doing both games, or we're doing one for each game,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
what?
both
Just
games. I
both
think we'll
games.
combine it because it'll
Yeah,
be
yeah,
easier.
yeah. Okay, I'm going Derrick Henry over 55.5 rushing yards. That's one I like as well.
All right, let's see here. Derrick Henry, the number's at 57.5 on price picks,
Mm,
but
that's fine.
yeah,
I
that's
have
fine.
him for 18 for 70. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So there, all right, so we got both running backs in there. They don't have his for DeAndre Hopkins reception. They don't have that yet.
They have
Um
his yardage. I kind of like his yardage though too.
Receiving yards for D Hop is, why is D Hop not listed? Oh, here he is. 56.5 is the number for him.
What about Okongwu?
32.5.
I kind of like that. Yeah, I think he can get 35, 36.
All right, we'll throw that in there. And then this rushing receiving combo is kind of interesting to me for a touchdown. So they have Derrick Henry and Tucker Craft together, D Hop and Jaden Reed together, Waddle and Akungwa together, and Raheem Mostert and Nick Westbrook Akina together. But none of those excite me, but those are interesting. They actually have
Yeah,
targets. Does price picks. I just realized that.
yeah, they do.
Um,
Yeah, they do.
that's
They
pretty
used to have
awesome.
they have punting on some of the games too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hell yeah, and punts
Hmm.
inside the 20. They add those up there as well.
Oh, yeah, they do see that. That's interesting. Let's see. You want to keep it at 3 because I don't think I want to push it here. I don't really like anything else.
What do we have? What's the three that we have?
So we have Saquon Barkley, more than 19 average receiving yards. Derrick Henry, more than 57.5 rush yards, and then Akungwa, more than 32.5 receiving yards right now.
Is Jalen Hyatt there for receiving yards?
Yeah. Let's see. 27.5.
Like it over.
All right.
I think he has 50 plus.
All right, we'll take that. All right, so power play for that, all four of those. We'll get you a nice $1,000 return. All right, so we will go Jalen Hyatt more than 27.5 receiving yards. Kongwu more than 32.5 receiving yards. Derrick Henry more than 57.5 rushing yards. And Saquon Barkley more than 19.5 receiving yards. That $100 entry will get you a nice payout of $1,000 for the Monday Night Football doubleheader. All right, Lonte, that is going to do it for this edition of Monday Night Football NFL Week 14 doubleheader. Anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
That's it, man. We got another long week ahead of us. Are we? I was maybe I should ask. This is probably not a question to ask you on here. What about Saturday's games? We start the Saturday slate.
Yeah, I think Saturday will probably be something that we'll tinker with the schedule. I think maybe we'll have we'll mess around with that. I don't know, because I know they start the Saturday.
I didn't mean to put you on. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I had just seen the graphic.
No, you're good. Yeah, so let's look ahead to what we got next Monday night for the football game. I think
got a good one next Monday.
The Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, we got Eagles and Seahawks next week on Monday Night Football. So that'll be a fun matchup to talk about as well. All right, make sure you guys follow Lonte over on Twitter at XXLonteXX. You can find me on Twitter as well at SportsNerd824. More importantly, subscribe to the NFL Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. If you haven't already left us a rating and review, please do so. All right, we'll be back next week for the Monday Night Football pod. If you haven't already, know that we'll be all throughout the week, as well as we usually are for the NFL Gambling Podcast. All right, good luck with your bets on Monday Night Football. We'll talk to you guys next week. Till then, let's break these books off and let it ride.